All right, in this explainer, we're unpacking something called the startup sales trap. Look, if you're a high-performing sales pro, joining a fast-growing startup probably sounds like the ultimate thrill ride, right? You get to build something totally from the ground up, the territory's wide open, and the earning potential, it just feels limitless. But there is a massive hidden danger lurking right beneath the surface of all that hypergrowth. And honestly, it's one that most top-tier reps just don't see until it's way too late. So let's dive into exactly how this trap is sprung, and more importantly, how you can actually survive the supply chain bottleneck.
So think about this. What actually happens when you sell way more than your company can even make? Now on the surface, I know, this sounds like a total champagne problem. Demand vastly outstripping supply? That is literally the exact problem every single startup founder dreams of having. But for you, the individual who actually closed the deal, the person whose whole livelihood depends on that transaction crossing the finish line, yeah, it's not a victory. It's actually a massive vulnerability, and it can completely destroy your reputation and absolutely drain your bank account.
Because the truth is, if your sales outpace the company's inventory, you are walking directly into a financial trap. It really is that simple. When you totally overwhelm a weak supply chain, those massive wins of yours, they suddenly turn into capped commissions and completely wasted effort. I mean, you might spend months, maybe even a full year working this colossal deal, navigating all the procurement hoops, getting the ink dry on the signatures, but if the logistics team fails to actually deliver the goods, your paycheck takes the direct hit. You just cannot get paid on orders that the company physically cannot fulfill.
And this creates a massive kind of unspoken clash happening behind the scenes at a lot of these companies. Your mandate in sales is crystal clear, right? Close massive deals, scale the business as fast as humanly possible. You are bringing in the lifeblood of the company. But meanwhile, over on the production side, to a small bootstrap startup team, your massive success suddenly becomes this overwhelming operational burden. There's this very real friction between the high-energy excitement of closing deals and the crushing reality of manufacturing bottlenecks. Honestly, they might actually view your top-tier performance as a total headache.
Okay, so how do you actually spot this before you sign an offer letter? Well, you've got to watch for some specific operational red flags. First off, weak supply chains that just lack cash flow. Startups often simply don't have the liquid capital sitting around to go buy raw materials and scale manufacturing overnight. Second, look out for small teams getting completely crushed by sudden massive spikes in order volume. Third, you'll often see these misaligned goals where management is just obsessing over minor product tweaks instead of doing the really hard work of scaling up physical inventory. They want perfection, but you just need product to sell. And finally, if they lack the data tools to even forecast what they need to build, man, you are flying completely blind.
Let's actually map out exactly what this bottleneck feels like in real time. Picture this. It's month 1, let's say June. You're popping the champagne because you just closed a massive sale. The contract is signed. Incredible. But then, July hits. You're just waiting for replenishment. August rolls around, still waiting. September? Yeah, more waiting. It isn't until month 5, all the way in October, that the physical product actually ships. That is a grueling 3 to 4 month cycle just to fulfill a deal you've already won months ago. That is 4 agonizing months of just waiting. And why does this matter so much? Because during those 4 months, time is quite literally costing you money. Inflation and opportunity costs are just quietly eating away at the real value of your delayed earnings. The commission check you thought you earned back in June, it is significantly less real purchasing power by the time it finally reaches your hands in late October. Which leads us to an even scarier number, 0. Zilch. Because startups often pay commissions upon physical delivery rather than when the contract is actually signed, your commission income during this massive cash flow gap just drops to absolute 0. You could literally be the top performer in the entire company, absolutely crushing your quotas on paper, while your actual bank account is starving. It's a genuinely terrifying cash flow gap for any professional to face.
But hey, the damage definitely doesn't stop at your wallet. The market and client fallout, it is absolutely brutal, especially if you're in a physical product space like the beverage industry. Retailers and distributors, they will aggressively drop brands that can't maintain consistent stock. That costs you prime shelf space. Bar managers will literally stop taking your phone calls after that first big stock out. Competitors, they're going to easily swoop in and steal the tap handles you fought so incredibly hard to win. And if consumers want to try your new brand but just can't find it, they move on. The hype dies, and that permanently erases your future commission potential.
And here's the really harsh reality. Your clients are going to blame you, personally, for late deliveries and broken promises. It doesn't matter if the factory messed up. It doesn't matter if the founders didn't secure enough funding for raw materials. To the client, you are the face of the company. If you lose the trust of valuable network contacts that you spent years building, your career just stagnates. You'll end up spending all your valuable time managing angry, frustrated clients instead of being out there closing new business and expanding your territory. It is a total career killer.
But listen, you aren't powerless here. Before you ever join a startup, you need to deeply evaluate their production capacity, check their lead times, and thoroughly check for clawback clauses. These are those tricky contractual terms that determine if your commissions are securely paid the second you book the deal, or if they depend entirely on physical delivery. If a massive deal cancels strictly because the startup couldn't manufacture the goods in time, a clawback clause means they just take your commission right back. You absolutely must evaluate this before you ever sign on the dotted line.
Now, if you spot these red flags, but you still genuinely believe in the product and the founders, you've got to build a safety net to protect your income. Here's exactly how you negotiate that. Step 1. Demand pay on signing, not delivery. Your job is sales, not supply chain management. Step 2. Secure non-delivery protection, so you keep your commission if an order cancels due to manufacturing delays that are totally outside your control. Step 3. Negotiate a much higher base salary to cover those brutal 4-month inventory dry spells we just talked about. And Step 4. Ask for a guaranteed commission draw, which is essentially a retainer during your first 6 months. You have to demand these actionable contract terms if you want to survive. So all of this leaves us with one deeply provocative question that you need to answer before your next interview. What percentage of your total target compensation is base salary versus commission? Look, if you're taking on the massive operational risks of a small startup, your financial safety net absolutely needs to reflect that reality. Do not let a company's supply chain bottleneck become your own personal financial crisis. Take a really hard look at your contract, weigh the risks, and demand exactly what you're worth. All right, thanks for joining me for this explainer. Catch you next time.